Hello you all, I'm BlaqueWitchYaya. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. I'm not sure what I'm going to title this video yet, but I'll tell you the purpose of this video is basically to share that we all do spiritual practices. We all do witchcraft, as they call it, without even knowing it. I feel like a lot of times spiritual people get demonized for certain things that we do, but if you really think about it, we all do similar things just in different ways. And sometimes I feel like it's unfair that we get the backhand slap and the devil stamp just because we are witches, herbalists, spiritualists. We're considered evil, even though some of our practices are practiced in churches, are practiced in individuals who may practice different religions. So I wanted to do a video series on small things that we do that people consider evil witchcraft that everyone kind of does. And today we're going to talk about it in the realm of death. But before we dive into this video, gotta put on the good old protection so I can make these dime bags. Well, technically they're not dime bags anymore. The size has increased and the price has remained the same, so you're getting 4 times the product for the same price. What am I talking about? My crystal dry rub, which is an all-in-one crystal cleansers that's mixed with different herbs and crystals and sages and all the things to keep your crystals cleansed and charged. You could sprinkle some in your jewelry box, you could sprinkle some on your altar, wherever you keep your crystals, wherever you have crystals, to keep them bad boys cleansed, charged, and to continue to protect and enhance you. Even when you're not wearing them, you can utilize this during your cleansing rituals, whatever it may be, and you can get this from BlaqueWitchYaya.com. Crystal dry rub. So we all have different beliefs when it comes to death. Whether you are one that believes in heaven or hell, I know I have some Christians that watch me. We do not discriminate here. All is welcome. But whether you believe someone is going to heaven or hell, being reincarnated, whether you think that someone is just going to be floating around the spiritual realm after they die, or whether you're a person that believes once someone is dead, they are dead, no longer here, no energy, no nothing, no trace, they are done with their mission. And we all just have different beliefs as to what happens after that inevitable situation happens. So let's talk about it in one aspect. Have you guys ever been to someone's house, and you may know someone who does this? When someone passes away, they leave their room exactly the same. Don't touch nothing in here. Don't wash nothing in here. Leave it exactly how they left it. They may go in that room to feel their energy. They may go in that room to talk to them, to tell them how much they miss them, just to smell them, to feel their presence, because that's where they resided and slept and rest. So their energy is very potent in that room. They go in there to remember them, to reflect. They may grab a photo album and bring it with them to that room. They just want that room left the same. They don't want nobody walking in there. They want to leave that room sacred. Or in someone's home, when someone passes away, they may have like a coffee table in the living room with a picture of the individual who passed away. They may have their favorite watch there, baseball that they used to throw around in the yard to play with their grandkids, may have the favorite candy that they always kept in their pocket, or the cologne that they always smelled like. It'll be a little table with like little knickknacks dedicated to them, and people could go up to the table, see the picture, read the obituary, and just see things that remind them of that individual who has passed on. So whether it's in a room or it's a table dedicated to that person, that's an altar. Yeah, you know how we get demonized for having altars? Yeah, that's an altar. It's a focal point, a spiritual focal point dedicated to an energy, whether it's a God, spirit, or ancestor that you give offerings to, whether you have their favorite food there every so often. You may make them a cup of coffee in the morning. You may go to the room to feel that energy. That's a spiritual focal point that is utilized to channel a non-physical energy. That is an altar. So the next time you want to call someone crazy for having altars in their house, think about different ways in which you may have an altar yourself. That room you don't want no one to go in, that table you don't want no one to touch, that chair at the dining room table you don't want no one to sit in because Grandpa Luther used to sit there. Whatever, those are considered spiritual altars because those are dedicated spaces for someone in the spiritual realm. This could be whether you have an altar for Jesus. This could be whether you have an altar for God, an Orisha, an ancestor. It's a spiritual focal point where you find peace, you communicate with them, you reflect on them, you may meditate there, pray there, whatever. So we both do it. So speaking of continuing communication with the dead, let's make our way to the gravesite. And we're only going to talk about a few aspects in this video just so it won't be too long. But let's move over to the graveyard. You know, when you visit someone's tombstone at a gravesite, you may bring them flowers, you may bring them their favorite candy, you may have some rum with you that you'll pour out, give them a little libation, a little shot of liquor. You may sit there, talk with them, give them updates, let them know, hey, I got that promotion at work, or hey, my wife gave birth to a beautiful baby boy. We named him after you. Whatever updates, communications, or givings and gifts you want to give that individual. You may clean off their tombstone, make sure it's nice and neat, make sure no one put trash on there. You know, making sure it's nice and clear. When you go up to that gravesite, go to your loved one's, your friend's tombstone, and you drop flowers in front of their tombstone. You thank them. You say you missed them, whatever. Pour that shot of liquor, whatever you may do. You just gave an offering. But a lot of people say us spiritual people are crazy for talking to the dead. But isn't that something that most of us all do? A lot of people say, oh, people talk about their ancestors. You're just supposed to talk to God. You're not supposed to be talking to these other spirits, mixing and mingling with these other spirits. Your ancestor is technically a spirit that you're communicating with when you go to those tombstones and you drop off flowers and candy, that little room you have you don't want no one to touch, that coffee table you have with their picture and their cologne and their watch. You're communicating with the dead just like we do. Just because you got a cross there don't make it no different. You're doing the same thing we do. Something else that is commonly stated once someone has passed on, I'm not just talking about everyone, they'll have moments like they're watching over you. They may not be here, but they're watching over you. Like how you may have a special moment, you may win an award, you may get some good news, and you want that loved one, you want that friend, that spouse there, but they're not there in the physical sense. But you may say, I know they're looking down on me. I know they're here with me and all that stuff, right? And along with that, you may even receive messages from that individual. Although it may not be verbal, let's just say you have an aunt who loved blue butterflies, right? You know, that was her thing. She always brought the blue butterfly earrings, the shirts, whatever. And you may have a day where you're just having the most amazing day. Your kids doing good in school, jobs going good, everything's going good. And you know, on a usual day, you would share that news with your aunt. And you can't call her, of course, but when you leave from the grocery store, a blue butterfly passes by you. And of course, that is a message from your aunt that she knows, like, hey, I'm with you. I see you doing your thing. You doing a good job. You receiving a message from her. We do that too. When I say we, I'm talking about spiritual people who get demonized for stuff. We do that too. We have times where we may see certain numbers. We may smell their cologne. We may see someone out in public that looks like them. We're receiving messages just as you. So it's not us worshiping these random spirits and these evil spirits. We are staying connected with the loved ones and our ancestors and our spirits who guide us as well. It may be an aunt who guides you. It may be an Orisha who guides you. It may be a spirit guide that you don't know their name, but you could feel their energy that guides you. We are all communicating with spirits in different ways. And just because yours may be the Holy Spirit or a different spirit because you have a cross or a title of Christianity or whatever you practice attached to it, doesn't make yours less evil, I'll say, because at the end of the day, we're doing the same thing just with different titles and different ways, but the overall purpose is to communicate with those who have passed on, no matter what way we like to do it. Unless you're one of those people like, once they're dead, that's it, that's all, boom. But if you're one of those people that practice some of these, going to the gravesite to drop off flowers, they're watching over me, I received a message from them, that's their room, don't touch it. You're channeling and respecting and giving to that energy just as we do. So is it evil because we do it? And don't get me wrong, I am very well aware that there are evil people in the world, but to me, evil doesn't just come with a certain religion or practice. Evil can be anywhere. There are evil witches, there are evil spiritualists, there are evil herbalists, there are evil pastors, there are evil deacons, there are evil ministers and prophets and everything else. It totally depends upon the moral character of that person and not with the label that they put onto their practices. So once you step back and dive deeper into what spiritual people actually do and not just repeating what someone told you to say, they said it's evil, so it's evil. You don't know exactly what we do, but you know it's evil. And you really sit down to think about what y'all do versus what we do, you'll see that there are a lot of similarities, and sometimes the practices within the church stem from this spooky root work and witchcraft that you guys try to avoid, but you can't because at the end of the day, those lines do meet because they're one and the same. It's just practiced differently. And of course, there are some big differences, but the similarities, I feel that if we acknowledge them, it can be less stereotypical information put out about us spiritual people. And also, if you're coming from Christianity, this is also to help you know you're not giving up everything that you ever believed in, because there are some practices you'll be like, wait a minute, this sounds like what we used to do at church when we did this, or wait a minute, this sounds like what we used to do at mass when we did this, or wait, this is kind of similar to what we did when we were in our prayer rooms and did this and that. You'll see there are some similarities, because the energy is gonna flow, of course, in different ways. But if we find the source of where it all meets, it'll just remind us that we are all connected in certain ways. So y'all let me know some similarities down below with different religions and different practices that spiritual people do that we kind of get demonized and criticized for, but it's similar and the same and just in different ways. And we'll keep this series going. So today was about death. Next we may do weddings, or we may, I don't know, I gotta see what we're gonna do next. But let me know some suggestions down below. And like I always say, as above so below, as within so without, as the universe of the soul. Until next time, you guys, I'll shave, baby.